I'm a complete lunatic. I got OCD and panic disorder and all the stuff, and
Hmm.
so I've done therapy. I go to therapy. I meditate. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I work these things all the time, which I have questions for you about. Also, I'm interested in your thoughts on that. But what about talk therapy and all these I never hear you mention any of these things because I think I listen to you and it's like you can just let go of anger through meditation and notice that it's just an appearance in consciousness and the half-life and letting go. Do I want to feel this way? Do you think that people can do all this just through meditation and recognizing this is just an appearance in consciousness? Because some things might be deep-seated issues from childhood
Yeah.
trauma and all these things. Do you feel there's more to it, or can people just do like, let's say somebody was abused as a child, which I wasn't, just on a person. I don't want it to make it seem like that,
Mm.
but somebody was, horribly physically abused as a child. Is meditation enough, or do they need therapy or a psychotherapy or all those things also? Or can you just achieve peace through recognizing this is an appearance in consciousness and letting go? I guess I'm just going to
Yeah.
paddle that over to you with all that
Yeah.
mumble
Yeah.
jumble, if
Yeah.
that's a question.
No, it's a good question. I think I suspect that ultimately meditation might be enough, but I think it can be very effective and wise to kind of work on yourself on in other modes, right? I mean, the example I often use in this case, from my personal experience is, having a fear of public speaking, right? Like you could use mindfulness just to deal with that, right? So like every time you confront this anxiety about going out on stage, you can just be you can feel just anxiety, the pure physiology of it, and recognize that it has no real meaning. I mean, it's at the level of its raw experience, it's analogous to indigestion or a pain in your elbow or something that really doesn't map back on to who you are as a person in the way that anxiety seems to when you're busy thinking about why am I such a schmuck who can't get out on stage and feel good about it. Um, and so you just release all the self-judgment and and you just feel the raw sensations, and you just let them, you just let that buzz happen and kind of use it as energy. Um, it's definitely a good thing to do, and it's one remedy, and I think that's ultimately it could be a perfect remedy if you became mindful enough that you could just let everything, free fall, and never cling, never identify with anything that's coming through consciousness. Ultimately, I think it would be you'd probably be fine, but there are much I think there are much more efficacious ways to work on an anxiety like fear of public speaking than that. Or like cognitive behavioral therapy is probably a better approach. And um, on some level, there's no substitute for doing the thing you're anxious about and learning that you can get to the other side of the anxiety, and you can get rewarded by having good experiences doing it. And then that reward can sort of ingrain its own new associations with this thing you've otherwise been inclined to avoid, right? And um, you can get better at it, and you can feel some increased competence there, and you can have new concepts and new expectations around it, right? You can reframe things. It's not just a matter of feeling things non-conceptually through mindfulness. You can just consciously reframe the experience. Like you can notice that anxiety feels rather a lot like, excuse me, feels rather a lot like excitement, right? And it just has a different sort of cognitive frame around it, right? The things that excite you, for which you're willing to pay some money to experience, whether that's a roller coaster or something else. That's very much like anxiety, and yet it gets coded as positive,
Mhm.
whereas the clean, clammy dread you feel, having to go out on stage, gets coded as negative. You can work with all of that conceptually in a way that is not is sort of ancillary to being mindful, and actually make a lot of progress, and perhaps understanding, to moving to other psychological issues, maybe understanding their origins gives you some new tools by which to make progress, right? So um I think, yeah, I think you can do all of it, and I think they're all complementary. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't, and even and taking medication when medication is what's useful is also totally valid in my view. So I think you use anything that works.